Welcome to Ronny's Garage. We are holding Rolls-Royce Owners Club of Southern California's monthly tech meet. And today we're going to be working on the Silver Spur, an 86 Silver Spur, and we're going to be looking at the cruise control. I probably don't need the light now.
You don't need it?
No, not anymore. So this bolt goes through there like we showed. This little piece here has the bolt that holds the top of the dipstick, which will rattle around if you don't have it on there. And then this spacer goes underneath to keep it up high enough. You want to make sure your vacuum line goes on there good and snug. Doesn't want to fall off, because if the vacuum line falls off, then it's going to cause a miss or raise your idle on this particular model. But on earlier cars, it'll make it run rougher. So go ahead and get that started. Alright, and then this plug, if you look at it, it's odd shaped, so you can only put it on one way, so don't worry about putting it on backwards. This is one of the few connectors that Rolls-Royce does that with. That's not fair, they do a pretty good job on making connectors only go one way. Alright, so I don't tighten that one all the way until I get this tight too, just so everything lines up properly. See how it kind of adjusted itself there? There we go. Now the chain comes across. And this is, if you can see it better here, this is kind of like lamp pull cord chain. Yeah. It's a little bigger than most. I have found it, I forget where I found some. I have a big roll of it. So essentially, what I do is I take and I look at the links, I look at the point that wire bracket comes to, and I figure out which link I want to put it on, because you have to open the throttle to get enough slack. So we got 3 balls here to get it over there. One more. Yeah. Oh, see, that's got a little too much slack. So we got to go more. Now that, if you watch that, I open the throttle, and now it's pulling it, so that's too tight. So we'll go one more. Loose. There we go. It still can open the throttle, but when it's relaxed, you just got just a tiny bit of slack in it. And a lot of times they'll pop out, so what I'll do is I'll grab a pair of pliers and squeeze those tangs together so it won't allow it to do that. And then we'll let our owner take it out and drive it. Okay.
Can you count the number of balls that are on before you take it off?
That was just
on the same way every time?
Well, that's presupposing it was on right before.
It wasn't.
And plus, you remember that other old diaphragm was taller, so you got to take up some of the extra slack. It's a good idea, yes, to pay attention when you take something apart. You kind of get a feel for where it was, but it doesn't mean it has to go right back there. So there.
Thank you, Ronny.
Well,
no questions.
See if it works.
You just tightened it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, if you look at this, what I did is I just squeezed these arms together so the chain can't pop out. They were spread apart before. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Right on.
So when you have high vacuum, that's going to bring the bellows in and open up the throttle?
When it doesn't take a high vacuum to operate this big soft fan, first of all.
Oh, okay, you just need some.
It just needs some.
Okay.
Because you're not going to have high vacuum because you're going to be driving.
Right.
Right.
That's what I was puzzled.
Yeah. And when the computer tells that thing to open the valves, and they work in tandem kind of. Because one's a vent, there's actually, let's see, on this side, if I can get this off without damaging it, you can see there's a little screen and a filter, and that just vents the vacuum. That other valve vents it.
Okay.
Well, for something that's simple, yeah.
So the ECU is going to tell it to vent the vacuum or not, and then if it doesn't, pulls the bellows in and the throttle until you get the speed you want.
Then it plays games.
Okay.
Kinda like a
And
drummer.
it's constantly adjusting, is that
Right.
correct?
Mhm.
So it's either venting or not partially venting?
Well, it can do both. It's going to open up the vacuum to allow vacuum,
Right.
right? And then it'll modulate that vacuum on where it wants that position. So it's going to be venting and non-venting, venting and non-venting to keep this, because this moves a lot when you're driving down the road.
Okay. I guess what I'm wondering is it either on or off venting or not, or is there some mid position where it's venting a little bit?
Well, it's
not
a
sure.
simple circuit. So it's either going to open that valve or close it.
Oh, okay.
It's going to modulate.
And it's just going to keep on.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
There's no midpoints that it's either open or close those valves. This is a simple. This is the more complex of this type of cruise control because it has an electronic module. Earlier cars like that coupe I showed you up there, the 74, it's got speedometer cables still. It doesn't have an electronic transducer from the transmission. So it has a speedometer cable that goes up to a mechanical box. It has a flywheel and all kinds of whirring things in it. And has another speedometer cable that goes out to the speedo. And that's what modulates the vacuum. On a very similar thing. On the earlier cars, without the electronic control unit, there are no valves on it. It's just a vacuum pot, and it's modulated by this box. Right. And there's a pretty good article. When you go to the rrtechnical.info, I think that's it.
I think so.
Yeah. There's all the shop manuals, everything you need to look on these cars, but there's a specific link to how to fix the mechanical unit. It's pretty interesting. I've been able to just get into them before, and they're complex mechanically, but just clean points and they go, because it's got points and all kinds of stuff. Most things can be fixed on these cars. All right. We'll let Paul take a drive.
Been nice knowing you.
Yeah, get out of here before we get the bill.
Well.